Mark Shapiro is the brand manager for Leica, the Portland-based animation studio responsible for stop-motion feature films like Coraline, the BoxTrolls, and Paranorman.
His years at Leica have not only inspired a personal passion for the art form, but have made Shapiro a uniquely authoritative voice on stop motion.
We met up with Mark at Scienceworks, where we picked his brain about his collection of short films like Animated Worlds, what it's like to live and breathe animation, and what advice he has for young animators.
Hi, I'm Bella Jackson.
And I'm Ocean Price, and we're with the Ashland Middle School Teen Press here with
Mark Shapiro with Leica Animation Studio.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks. Nice to meet you.
We read that you completed your education studies at Lewis and Clark College. Have you always been into filmmaking?
I have always been into filmmaking. Even when I was really a lot younger, my parents took me to movies when I was young. And when I had the opportunity to go to film by myself, when I was like 12 or 13, don't tell anyone, but I would go to one movie and then I would walk across and go to the next movie. I'd see 3 or 4 movies in a day, and I was so fascinated with movies, all kinds of movies, not just action adventure, but I really got into like dialogue and settings of film, things like that, and I really, from a really early age.
So then why did you start your education studies?
So for my education studies, that was for teaching English, high school English. Mm-hmm. So I had my undergraduate degree is in English. So I went back to school to Lewis and Clark to be a language arts teacher.
So we recently watched your film Animated Worlds. We were wondering what the meaning was behind it and what made you want to do it.
So the Animated Worlds is a collection of short films that were all stop motion. And stop motion is a kind of filmmaking in animation where you move a puppet, you take a picture, move it one frame, 24 frames in a second. And because we're doing this huge art exhibit at the Portland Art Museum right now, we thought it'd be a really cool idea to have animated films, short animated films, as sort of a canon or a collection of some of the best that were in the world. You know, some old-fashioned stop-motion films as well as new ones. And I felt like it was a nice way to kind of show everything with animation.
Who is your inspiration in animation?
My inspiration in animation, probably Henry Selick and Tim Burton. I just love their storytelling, their techniques, and to me, animation is really a cool art form because you can do anything you want with animation. You can draw on a screen and create a world unlike any other, and that's what makes animation different. So the worlds of Tim Burton are so different and so involved and so fantastic in a way that's beyond imagination, and I like the way he stretches the ideas of animation. Of our films, my favorite film was the film that we're working on at the time, right? So we have 4 films that we've put out: Coraline, Paranorman, the BoxTrolls, and Kubo and the Two Strings. And our 5th film, which is going to be announced any day now. And there's something really exciting about the project you're currently working on. As I look back the history of Leica, I got to Leica almost 11 years ago. And we were making Coraline at the time. And so that has a special place for me. I have 2 daughters of my own, and I like that Coraline is a girl, and she's a strong girl. And there's something about that I glean inspiration maybe as a parent of two daughters. And so Coraline has just a lot of meaning for me.
Yeah.
So if you were exposed to animation at a young age, did that help you along your career way?
Yeah, I mean, learning about animation, learning about drawing was something that I really loved when I was younger. There was, art from all over the world. And I liked how in animation and in drawings, the really good artists can tell a story without any kind of dialogue. They can just show funny things that happen or interesting things that happen without showing dialogue. And I think that's what makes it universal. So somebody seeing an art project that was made in England, if you live in Armenia, you can still understand it, even though it's a different language, or in Korea or Japan or South Africa, or South Africa would also be English. But the idea that you would have, that you can tell a story with pictures is something really clever. I think it's something that's really interesting.
How are you liking your stay in Ashland so far?
I love Ashland. I've been coming to Ashland for years, and you guys have something really special here. I mean, I love the environment. I think it's such a cute town, and there's an artistic side to this community unlike any other. To be able to have so much art, and with the Shakespearean Festival, obviously, and great galleries and the university and the film festival, all of those things, it feels like there's a real charge of great creative thought in this town. The weather's always perfect here. Maybe it's not always, but for the times that I've been here, and just a really good energy. I mean, I go to a lot of film festivals, a lot of different towns, and I can't wait for April to come back around again because I just love this town so much.
We read that you are in brand and marketing management. Can you go more in depth about it?
Yeah, so brand and marketing really has to do with the look and the feel of our company. So whether that's the website, whether it's social media, whether it's the stories that we tell in different environments, again, social or creating advertising or anything, it's the way you tell the story through the lens of your brand. So we as an animation studio try to tell stories that relate with everything that we do. We try to create an arc, a story arc with our the way that we market something. Yeah. Does that make sense? So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we try to create a look and a feel and a voice that matches our brand. And so I'm a part of a really big team of different people that helps make that come about.
I was curious, what do you think the creepiest film you've made is?
That we've made? Yeah. Well, there's some really interesting parts of the third act of Paranorman that get kind of scary, and the same with Coraline. So I would say that our films have, just going back to what I said a second ago about story arc, beginning, middle, and an end. You know, it's like Shakespearean, those three parts, right, to the story. And I think that when you're taken on that journey from beginning, middle to end, it could be interesting, it could be scary, it could be fun, but it should be thrilling. And so hopefully all of our films have those elements.
I know personally Coraline definitely freaked me out. That was one of the scariest films that I saw when I was little. But if you could give any advice to young filmmakers, what would you tell them?
The advice that I would give to filmmakers, if you're interested in getting into film, especially with animation, is drawing. Like, spend a lot of your time drawing. There's nothing more important than creating imagery. Like when you, with a pen and a sketch pad, drawing experience, spend less time on your phones and more times unplugged drawing. And I would say it's the one sort of universal thing that ties together with all Leica employees. They love stories, they love drawing, and that's sort of the heart of everything that we do is in the drawn image. It starts with that. Going back to what we were talking about originally, when I was younger, going to movies, watching movies, reading books, listening to dialogue from movies, from all kinds of movies, documentary movies, narrative movies, animated movies, and just getting a sense of, again, story arc. So understanding stories are really important, and that goes way beyond film and everything, but it's just about the creativity, helping to foster creativity. The one thing overall that's most important is observation. So we spend a lot of our time in school producing work for teachers or doing, art projects if you're taking like in a summer class or whatever. But it's really important to spend a lot of your time just looking around you, especially when you live in a beautiful place like this, where the trees, you have everywhere you look, you see something beautiful, and that helps kind of define your artistic abilities and your ability to kind of understand the way the world works. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's like four seasons and watching the way birds fly, watching the rain come down. It's just those kinds of things help your brain tell other stories when you're getting ready to do the next whatever project you're working on.
Yeah. I'm sure that any film that you're making takes a lot of patience, but how do you stay patient and animated? It's
a really great question because it's a slow process for our films. They can take 5 years to make a film. Our animators can maybe animate, if they're animating 24 frames a second, maybe 3 seconds in a week. So there's a lot of patience, a lot of time. Kind of, if you can back up and see the bigger picture of why you're doing something, and then look at, maybe you're only doing 1 second in a week, but several weeks later you look back and see all the different things you've done. It really pays off. But that's another really good point. The idea of not rushing through things, just kind of patiently understanding that what you're doing will take time. and understanding the process and trusting the process.
Do you have to start over if something accidentally moves on its own in a way you don't want it to?
Yeah, there are a lot of times where animators will have to start over. Luckily, because it goes so slowly, they don't lose very much work. Like if they're doing a frame, something happens like a set or something gets knocked over, camera gets knocked over, you can reset back to where you were within that framework and then get back into it again. So you're kind of managing your work pretty steadily throughout the process.
What film was your favorite to make?
Of all of our films, I think, again, going back, probably Coraline to me. Again, because it was our first film, there was something really special about that. But for me, it's like, again, going back, it's really hard for me to say what my favorite film, even beyond what our studio does, because sometimes I see great moments in film that I kind of mark in my brain. It's like, wow, that was a really great moment, or this is a great moment. Sometimes I see great moments in TV, or something, in a series or in a book, like, wow, that was a really good way of defining a character. So along the way, and if you're doing the same thing as you're watching things, just unconsciously, you are picking up things that you really like from films or from shows or things like that help kind of define how you see things.
Do you ever wish you had a different job?
My job changes a lot, and there's so many different elements within my job, but I think about it all the time. I think about, writing a screenplay or doing a movie or just going on the road and traveling or something. Yeah.
When you were like a child, did you think you were gonna be ending up in film?
I think it was something that was like a dream, that maybe really, really cool to work in the industry. And in my industry, it touches other industries in filmmaking, sometimes like at a film festival or getting to meet some of the voice actors and things like that. It really is exciting. And I guess I felt like I would always do something in entertainment. My dad is in advertising. My mom is an artist. So I grew up with that kind of thing. And I thought maybe with my own life, I would do that. But I've changed course, throughout my life. And I have a daughter who's 15 and she's not sure exactly what she wants to do. And I'm like, it's okay. You can try different things and you'll settle in on things. Even adults don't feel like we're finished. We feel like, we could do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Do you have any of those moments where you go, wow, this is really the job that I'm meant to be in?
Yeah, I do have those moments, and I do love it. There are moments of that. We'll do a lot of events, and there's a lot of preparation time and a lot of, planning, and then the day comes, and then you do something, and then I think it's really important in those moments when you're doing like a big event or something to really get excited about it. Like this is why we did it. In advertising, it happens all the time. You're never really finished. There's always another thing that's going to come up, what you're doing or making. But it's really important to celebrate victories, because it gets you motivated for the next thing. But I do think it's really important, like I said, to celebrate a victory.
So when you finish a film, do you go straight into the next one?
Yeah, usually we like it when there's overlap, because that way we can then hit screen in a continuous way.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me here. It's been so much fun, and what a great event. You guys are super lucky to live in this community. It's so expressive, and it embraces art so much. And for me, that's like what a great place to be. Yeah. Thanks for having me here.